Hey, welcome to our first episode of this podcast and YouTube series on a bunch of different topics. We are talking about relationships, we're talking about emotional, psychological, spiritual well-being, all kinds of things related to just living your best life ever. We want to get into empowerment, thinking through and talking about empowering yourself as a human being and talking about empowering yourself as, I think, particularly as a woman. In my psychotherapy practice, and Damaris, in your yoga practice, we both are really hearing about, from different ways, just the struggle sometimes that women have to be all they can be and to be their best self. So that's what we want to get into in this conversation. Damaris, what are your first thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. That is the major thing that people in these days need to gain the power back. I think we unconsciously gave the power back for many reasons, fear, angry, or whatever reasons. And I think it's time now for retake that power back to us and be free and have that kind of freedom that our own empowerment give us. And I think there is a beautiful topic today and absolutely necessary for someone like Dr. Russell to talk about it. He's been doing therapy for more than 22 something more years, so he had very experiences on how, especially women's, everybody, but especially women's, that they have given the power away, the power away. And I think it's time for all of us to regain that power and to start maybe from zero from some people, but start relearning, reinventing ourselves, rewriting our own chapter with our own power, knowing that we have that all power is within us. Society or ancestors or whatever have unconsciously maybe took that power away from us. So it's time to regain that power.
There's this thing that we come across all the time, a lot of the time in couples therapy. You know, when I'm working with a couple, you know, they've been together for a long time, and they kind of wake up one day, maybe it's when the kids leave home, but they sort of snap out of it and they drink, you know, they wake up and smell the coffee, that's the expression. And particularly the woman sort of realizes that, you know, she's sort of lost power in the relationship. And when we dig down and kind of explore like what happened and, you know, when did it happen, you know, we have to discover that before we can figure out how to get it back. But oftentimes what I've heard, and lots of my colleagues have heard, is little small choices along the way that it felt, for the woman, it felt like I can either make a choice for myself or I can make a choice for the relationship. And so the woman chooses, I want the security of the relationship, so I'll just cut off a small piece of myself that seems to be unacceptable to my partner, and that will secure the relationship, and I'll just pay the price. And as one of my favorite therapists puts it, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Just little micro choices along the way. I'll just silence part of myself because that will make the relationship okay. And then, you know, she wakes up 10, 20 years later and realizes I've given away all my power, and this relationship sucks. Like I didn't get the relationship, and I didn't get myself either. I got nothing. So I guess we want to kind of shine a light on that dynamic, and say, hey, you know what? Don't make that sacrifice for yourself. Don't sacrifice yourself for the sake of the relationship. Ideally ask for both, right? I want to hold on to myself. I want to hold on to my power. And you know what? I'd like this relationship too.
Absolutely, and that is so true. Cutting in a little pieces along the way, 20 years, 30 years, 27 years. Oh my goodness! And then we have no relationship. We have no ourselves. We became unrecognizable even to ourselves. So we lost everything. We have nothing. No relationship. Our self-esteem is completely gone. We don't recognize ourselves anymore. And now, after 20 years, 30 years, we just stop and say, oh my God, 20 years went by, and where am I right now? Who I am right now? What do I want? I am older, maybe a little overweight. My kids are gone. What is that? Excuse me. Oh my goodness.
Right. It's like that. Again, usually it's the woman, and don't ask me to explain that why that is, but usually it's the woman that is making those little sort of micro sacrifices along the way, and and sort of the unconscious deal with the devil, right? The unconscious sort of deal that she makes is, I'll make this sacrifice now, and someday it'll be my turn. And that's the nasty part, right? Is 10,
that day
20,
never come.
That day never comes. Like it never turns around, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, my turn now. It
gets worse.
It gets worse. Her partner is less and less and less invested in the relationship.
Totally.
More and more comfortable with doing his own things, going out drinking with the boys and coming home late or whatever. And she's going like, WTF?
Yes, totally.
What?
Yeah.
What about me? What about my turn? I thought the deal was I got a turn after a decade or two.
Totally.
So here I'm going to totally put you on the spot, Damaris. If we're talking about women's empowerment, if we're talking about a woman actually, waking up, smelling the coffee, choosing for herself, not sacrificing herself for the relationship. Some people are going to hear this. Some women are going to hear this, and some men, lots of men are going to hear this the same way. Oh, women's empowerment. That means she's going to be a bitch. So how does a woman choose for herself, empower herself, reclaim her power without being a bitch? Please help us out.
Good question. Even though it seems like it's hard, totally hard, I think it's in our hands to, like we said in Spanish, turn the tortilla to the other side. It's possible. It's absolutely possible when you just take the time to just stop, literally stop and think, what is what I want? What is, not forget, but I lost a lot of my freedom, I lost my power basically. So now I want to regain this power and start all over, fresh. It doesn't matter what age you are in, it doesn't matter what way you are in, it doesn't matter what society or what country you live in. It doesn't matter. Whatever in the planet you are in, you are capable to regain that power and start working even little by little. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm sure about that. And I don't want to say that you just go in like this and everything is going to happen tomorrow. You are going to wake up and you are going to be, hoo-hoo, this is me, new one. That will be beautiful, but it's not going to happen that way. It takes work, it takes commitment to yourself, especially to yourself. And when you start doing that little by little, doing a little things, you don't have to wake up in the morning and start screaming or yelling or saying, right, yeah, I'm going to get my power back and you this and this. No, you just relax, just decide to yourself that you are going to have your coffee on your own or not coffee at all. And just start doing a little things. If you like to exercise, 5 minutes. If you want to meditate, 5 minutes. 2 minutes, start doing something that will little by little give you the power back to you.
There you go. That's such a great point, because I think the hard thing to recognize is that person that finds themselves waking up, 10, 20 years down the road, having lost the power, having sacrificed themselves in the relationship. Here's the hard thing. They did it to themselves. So any anger or hostility that they might have, it actually needs to be directed towards themselves. I did that to myself. And that's a really, really confrontive thing. That's a really, really hard thing to acknowledge and accept. And it absolutely needs to be combined with a whole lot of self-compassion. Google Kristen Neff, selfcompassion.org. You'll learn everything you ever need to learn about self-compassion along the way. But the difference maker is that if the person recognizes, wow, I can't believe this has happened to me, and I can't believe I've done this to myself, I need to kind of turn things around within my own heart first. And then out of that, I'm going to make new choices. That's going to look and feel a whole lot differently in her own soul and subsequently in her relationships. On the other hand, if she is putting the blame and the responsibility on her partner, then she's going to be angry and hostile towards her partner. You did this to me. And then we have a completely different situation. Then we have bitchiness 101 is what we have. And that's going to be, for sure, that's going to be destructive to the relationship, for sure. It's ultimately going to be a different form of disempowerment to her own self, totally. Right? Because she's identifying the problem is outside of herself, and if the problem is outside of herself, then the solution must be outside of herself also, and we just have a different form of disempowerment.
Absolutely.
But if she can say, wow, she can look in the mirror and say, oh, wow, I made 1,000 micro mistakes along the way, and I need to make different choices for myself. I need to take responsibility and ownership for myself in those choices. Then I'm also going to be compassionate to myself. I'm going to choose better for myself. And I'm going to look at my partner of the 5 or 10 or 15 years, and my partner is just an accomplice. What in crime shows they call it an accessory after the fact. They didn't really do anything wrong. They just sort of contributed to the crime.
Yeah. And that happens so much. Oh God, that happens so much that people or women have the tendency, or the partner, either way, woman or man, have the tendency of thinking, oh, she made me that way, or he made me this way. But at the end of the day, we, like you just said, allowed unconsciously that to happen. Little things along the way, little things that became over 20 years or 30 years became a big thing that we cannot handle anymore. That is very heavy, very toxic, and it doesn't serve us anymore. So gaining the power back takes time too, because losing that power didn't happen overnight. It happens in 20, 15, 5, 1 year, whatever, 40, whatever that might be. So it takes time for us to engage again and restart again this new, healthy, organic relationship with ourselves first. It doesn't mean you have to be, I'm here and I have to buy everything. No, you have to do it in your own home, quietly, recognizing that you lose the power because you gave permission to someone to take that power away from you. So now it's time to regain that power little by little, and it's going to take time. Maybe it won't take 20 years, or 30 or 40 or 15 or 10, no, but it will take at least 6 months, 1 year, 2 years to restart rewriting and having that healthy, beautiful, organic relationship with yourself. And when you start doing that, doing a little changes, a little things, it can be yoga, it can be meditation, it can have less coffee, it can have less sugar, and a little things like that that make you feel more light, more empowered, more energetic. And so with time, I promise you, if you do anything you do, you start working on yourself, within 6 months you can see a huge, immense difference in how you feel inside of you and how you show up to the world.
Absolutely. So is this possible? Is it even possible to reclaim yourself and in some cases kind of repair the relationship? Like basically, does it mean leaving the relationship if I'm going to reclaim my power? And it sounds like you're saying, not necessarily, because this is actually an inward task. This is like an internal work. It's not primarily relationship work. It's really secondarily relationship work. Primarily it's internal work. Who knows what will happen to the relationship if that person does that internal work, right? Could transform the relationship mean an ending of the relationship, right? Dearly beloved, we're gathered here together today to pay our respects to this relationship that actually died 10 years ago, but we're just getting around to having the funeral for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's full disclosure, that's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely, it is a possibility, and I had that experience, and I can say that is absolutely possible to, let's say, repair or stay in a healthy, organic relationship. Absolutely, yes. However, if it's the opposite, just leave it. You don't have to stay in a relationship that is toxic, that you don't feel like you belong anymore. So if you, and I think, and I truly believe that everybody know when a relationship is worth it to fight for it or just to leave it. I believe that. I totally believe that we feel in our heart, in our guts, when it's time to just cut it completely.
Yeah.
Let it go, because you can feel, and you know that maybe you were working and talking and trying to do a little things, different things to make it work, and it got to the point where you feel, it seems like I'm talking to the walls. Nobody's listening to me.
Right. There's going to be seasons in a relationship that take effort and intention, work. Everybody says, right? Relationships take work. Well, okay, yeah, there's going to be seasons for sure.
Of course.
But I would argue it's an entirely different thing if you sort of do some really honest soul searching and you recognize that not just this week, not even just this month, but for this season of this relationship, I'm the only one that's lifting the weight. And if that's the case, then let's call that what it is. It's a toxic, dysfunctional relationship. And I would suggest that person needs to do some really serious soul searching about why they're staying in the relationship, and is it worth the price that they're paying in their relationship. You've enjoyed this video. I can tell you have. I can see the look on your face. So hit subscribe, hit like, because that helps other people get this video in their YouTube feed so they can be blessed and encouraged the same way you have been in this video. And so hit subscribe, hit like, also hit us up with a comment. Tell us what you think about Damarisa's perspective, my perspective. Tell us what you agree with. Tell us what you disagree with. Hit us up with questions or comments. Let us know what you think. And we want to make this a conversation back and forth between us and y'all, so that we grow in wisdom and knowledge together.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes,
That'd be awesome.